Hi, this is Daniel DiTuro. I know some of you are thinking, what does being pro-life have to do with lifestyle, diet, and nutrition? In this video, I'll share pro-life versus anti-abortion, the 10 leading causes of death in the U.S., ignoring the root cause of abortions, and the pseudo-pro-life majority. Since 1973, there's been a growing movement in the U.S. to outlaw abortions by a constitutional amendment or by having the U.S. Supreme Court reverse Roe v. Wade. Abortion is a medical procedure to terminate a pregnancy. In the U.S. and other countries, millions of people claiming to be pro-life are only anti-abortion. I know many people believe anti-abortion and pro-life are the same. One who is truly pro-life fights to protect life from cradle to grave. History and actions over the past 50 years by so-called pro-life advocates clearly shows that is not the case. The 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. kill over 2 million men, women, and children every year. The leading causes of death for decades has been heart disease and cancer. Over 100,000 Americans die from heart disease and cancer every month, or over 3,000 deaths a day. An average of 4 men, women, and children die every minute from mostly preventable deaths. While pro-life state legislators and governors pass anti-abortion legislation annually, nothing is done to stop millions of preventable deaths a year. In fact, pro-life state legislators and governors have increased the number of preventable deaths in the name of freedom of choice. In 2020, U.S. traffic fatalities increased even though the number of miles driven decreased. Auto accidents are the leading cause of death for people age 1 to 54. A child saved from abortion has a high probability of dying in an auto or other accident. Accidents are the leading cause of death for children age 1 through 14. Annually, about 4.4 million Americans are seriously injured in auto accidents and require hospitalization. Even the pro-life media classifies serious auto injuries like permanent paralysis and amputations as non-life-threatening. The actions and words of most pro-life politicians proves profit supersedes the right to life. In 2018, Arizona's pro-life governor, Doug Ducey, welcomed companies developing self-driving cars to road test their vehicles with few restrictions. Pro-Life Arizona now has the honor of having the first recorded pedestrian death in the world by a self-driving car. When pro-life drivers complained about photo radar on Arizona's highways, the pro-life Arizona legislature and governor outlawed photo radar on all state highways. The result was an immediate increase in highway fatalities. Eliminating photo radar is not surprising. A pro-life member of the Arizona House of Representatives was cited for driving 70 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. In 2017, approximately 862,000 abortions were performed, compared to nearly 2 million preventable deaths. While the number of abortions has declined for decades, the number of preventable deaths has not. Anti-abortion advocates believe the decline is due to stricter abortion laws. Therefore, banning abortions will end abortions. The same rationale was used 100 years ago when the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution banned the production and sale of all alcoholic beverages. It was called Prohibition. Prohibition had many accomplishments, like replacing legal alcohol production with illegal production, created over 200,000 speakeasies to sell illegal alcohol, created a black market for alcohol, turned law-abiding citizens into criminals, increased organized crime, and made Al Capone a celebrity. Prohibition was a complete failure because it did not address the root cause of alcoholism. Today, alcoholism is classified as a chronic addictive disease, and the solution is treating it as a disease. Unless something has changed, it normally takes a man and a woman to create a new life. Most abortions are performed on single, lower, and middle-income women. In many states, the father can walk away to create more unwanted pregnancies with no moral or financial responsibility. While some pro-life states are ready to send women to prison for having an abortion, the father can lie on a beach and enjoy a nice cold drink. If men gave birth instead of women, there would be no anti-abortion movement. Make the father responsible for 50% of the time and expenses raising a child, and the number of unplanned pregnancies and abortions would plummet. DNA testing can prove paternity if there's any doubt about the child's father. Fortunately for men, paternity and anti-abortion laws are written by men to protect men. To truly be pro-life, one must defend all life, not just the life of the unborn. Individuals and organizations claiming to be pro-life say their mission is protecting all life. In reality, most are just anti-abortion. For decades, heart disease and cancer have been the leading causes of death in the U.S. The root cause of most cancers and cardiovascular disease is diet, lifestyle, and environment. Since the 1960s, Americans eating mostly processed and prepared foods have gotten fatter and fatter. Pro-life retail stores now offer more selection for overweight and obese customers than healthy customers. So-called pro-life politicians oppose any legislation that interferes with the rights of their corporate sponsors. For example, Americans have the right to eat themselves to death on a high-calorie, low-nutrition, chemically enhanced diet. The authors of the 2020 U.S. Dietary Guidelines wanted to reduce male alcohol consumption from 2 drinks to 1 drink a day. The ProLife USDA and administration rejected the recommendation due to insufficient scientific evidence. According to the CDC, about 15% of adult Americans binge drink alcohol about 4 times a month, averaging 7 drinks. Alcohol is a known toxin, and the effects of overconsumption are well documented. The alcoholic beverage industry invests about $1 million a month lobbying pro-life lawmakers to oppose any legislation restricting alcohol consumption. Another recommendation was reducing added sugars from 10 to 6% of total calories. Again, the conservative pro-life USDA rejected the recommendation. Both added sugar and alcohol are high-calorie, non-essential nutrients. The battle over a consumer's right to know prepared foods are healthy and safe goes beyond added sugar. With home cooking, you know what ingredients are in your food. You have the option of preparing 100% organic meals and snacks. If your diet is mostly laboratory-prepared foods, you should have the right to know what's in your food. Instead, legislation to label genetically modified foods is blocked. Legislation for healthier school lunches. Legislation banning junk foods from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Legislation reducing the amount of added sodium in prepared foods. Legislation rating the nutrition quality of prepared foods. Legislation banning untested or poorly tested food and cosmetic additives. Legislation requiring proof dietary supplements are safe and effective. Legislation requiring food makers to list all ingredients. Legislation reducing food contamination and improving food safety. And it doesn't stop with food quality and safety. Legislation improving air quality. Legislation assuring safe drinking water. Legislation for building codes to reduce residential slips, trips, and falls. And finally, legislation banning repeat, aggressive, distracted, and impaired drivers from having a driver's license. The so-called pro-life Conservative Party continually blocks legislation that can save hundreds of thousands of lives a year. Putting corporate profits before the health and safety of millions of people is not pro-life. A nation that promotes obesity and unhealthy lifestyles is not pro-life. You will not find pro-life advocates picketing supermarkets, restaurants, food companies, or motor vehicle departments. The voices of millions of living, breathing children and adults are drowned out by hypocritical pro-life lawmakers. In 2021, the pro-life Arizona State Senate placed election integrity and tax cuts for the wealthy above the health and well-being of Arizona citizens. Most people claiming to be pro-life are actually plinos, pro-life in name only. Being pro-life up to the moment of birth is pure hypocrisy. To truly be pro-life means fighting for the health and well-being of the living, not just the unborn. Please leave a comment if you have any questions about this video. Thank you for watching.